It all started on a crisp autumn morning when the air felt fresh and alive with the smell of pine. I, Emily Johnson, had been craving some quiet time away from the noise of the city, and my son, Daniel, who had just turned 19, suggested we take a road trip into the mountains of Colorado. At first, I hesitated. The thought of long drives, unpredictable weather, and rough trails made me a little uneasy, but Daniel was so enthusiastic. He said it would be an adventure we'd both remember forever. Something in his tone made me agree, even though I didn't realize then how much this trip would change me. We loaded up our old SUV with blankets, a tent, some cooking supplies, and Daniel's guitar, because he never went anywhere without it. The drive up was filled with laughter and long conversations. Daniel told me stories about his college life, about his friends, his struggles, and even the dreams he hadn't shared before. I found myself realizing that my little boy had truly grown into a thoughtful young man. It wasn't just a mother-son trip anymore. It felt like two close friends setting out into the unknown together. The mountains welcomed us with their towering peaks and winding trails. The leaves were a mix of golden yellows and deep reds, falling gently as if the forest was painting its own masterpiece. Daniel parked near a trail he had researched and insisted we hike up to a lookout point where he promised the view would take my breath away. The trail was harder than I expected, filled with rocks, roots, and steep climbs. I found myself stopping often to catch my breath, but Daniel never rushed me. Instead, he would pause, smile, and say, "We'll get there together, Mom." Those words meant more than he knew. Every time he extended his hand to help me over a tricky step, I felt that unshakable bond between us grow stronger. When we finally reached the top, the view was more beautiful than words could capture. A blanket of clouds hung low over the valleys, with the sun breaking through in rays of light that painted the hillsides. I gasped, and Daniel grinned, satisfied that he had been right. We sat down on a flat rock, eating the sandwiches we packed, while he strummed his guitar. The soft sound of his music mixed with the wind in the trees and the distant call of an eagle overhead. Then, out of the blue, Daniel stopped playing and said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." My heart skipped. His voice was steady, but his eyes held something deeper. I braced myself, unsure of what was coming. He told me that he had been struggling quietly with self-doubt, with questions about his future, and even with moments where he felt like giving up. He said he hadn't wanted to worry me, but being up in the mountains made him feel free enough to finally share. Tears welled in my eyes as I listened. I realized that for so long, I had been focused on holding our family together after his father and I divorced, that I hadn't always noticed the silent battles Daniel was fighting. I reached for his hand and told him I was proud of him, not just for his successes, but for his honesty and strength to open up. He smiled, and in that moment, the mountain air felt lighter, as if it carried away some of the heaviness he had been holding inside. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking openly about his worries, his hopes, and even about my own fears I had never voiced. I told him how I sometimes felt like I hadn't done enough as a mother, but he looked at me, his eyes fierce, and said, "Mom, you did more than enough. You gave me everything I needed to be me." Those words pierced my heart in the most healing way possible. As the sun began to dip, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, Daniel did something unexpected. He pulled a folded letter out of his backpack and handed it to me. He said he had written it weeks ago but never found the courage to give it to me. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, he had poured his gratitude, his love, and his promise to always stand by me no matter what. By the time I finished reading, tears streamed down my face. I hugged him tightly, realizing that this trip wasn't just about the mountains. It was about rediscovering each other. That night, we set up our tent near a small clearing. Daniel built a fire, and we roasted marshmallows, laughing when mine fell into the flames. Under the blanket of stars, he played his guitar again, this time singing softly. I lay back, watching the sky, thinking about how precious these moments were. The mountains had given us more than just beauty. They had given us truth, healing, and a deeper connection that I would carry with me forever. The next morning, as we packed up, Daniel said, "Mom, this trip changed me." I looked at him, knowing it had changed me too. Sometimes, all it takes is stepping away from the noise of life, standing side by side with someone you love, and letting the mountains remind you of what truly matters. And so, when people ask me about the most unforgettable experience I've ever had, I don't talk about fancy vacations or glamorous places. I talk about the mountains, the crisp autumn air, and the day my son opened his heart to me out of the blue. Because that was the day I realized love isn't just about raising a child, it's about growing with them, too.